Hello and welcome to Kitchen Sink with G. I'm Georgie, and in this mini-series we're going to be covering everything that you need to know about the 4 phases of the female menstrual cycle. In each episode we're going to dive into specifically what's happening in that phase, what you might be feeling, how to eat, how to move, and how to optimize your productivity, so how to work. In this episode, we're getting into the menstrual phase, otherwise known as, yes, you know it, the period. On the bigger map of the 28-day cycle, which I've drawn out very budgetly here, but on this map, from day 1, which is the official start of your period, which is the first day of like a heavy bleed, until roughly it's about 5 days, but anything from 3 to 6 or 7 days is your menstrual phase. It's part of the follicular phase, so technically it's early. It's not also known as the early follicular phase. This first half being your follicular phase, but the menstrual phase signifies the start of the menstrual cycle. So it is probably the most obvious phase to recognize. If you're a girl, you know. If you're a boy, you probably know this too, but there is lots of blood. But you'll know that it's coming because a few days before, your body temperature might actually start to drop, so you feel a little bit chillier. And then whilst you're on your period too, the sudden drop in hormones is basically what makes the body temperature go down, and that's also what initiates the start of the period. So around here, all your hormones start to drop off, and you're gonna start to feel this release essentially of all the PMS symptoms that you were feeling before, any bloating, breast tenderness, stiffness, grogginess, all that stuff, and then you feel a little bit like yourself again, and then your period comes. So what's actually happening is the lining of your womb has been thickening throughout the whole cycle. Even now, even while it's shedding, it's growing a thin layer of endothelial cells underneath the layer that's the old layer that's shedding. So throughout the cycle, the lining of your womb is thickening in preparation for implantation of a fertilized egg. When there isn't any fertilization, the lining of the womb is not needed anymore, which is kind of recognized around here. It starts to degrade, and when all the hormones drop is when it's broken down and it's shed out of the body, and that's essentially the period. So it's cyclical. It is the cycle, is the build-up and breakdown of the uterine lining. So the blood vessels in the uterine wall constrict, and the uterus wall itself starts to contract, and it helps further breakdown and release of the uterine wall. And then you have menstrual blood that helps see everything out. So that's essentially what is happening. The hormones, as we said before, everything crashes. So your hormones are baseline. You have low levels of hormone. As the days go on, FSH is going to crawl up. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone, and as this is the follicular phase, follicular stimulating hormone, we'll talk about it in the next episode about follicles, but that one's going to start to creep up. And so is estrogen's going to start to make an appearance. But basically, all your hormones are pretty low. What you might be feeling. So in this phase, you're obviously losing blood. Your hormones are low. So if you are used to getting a little kick of energy from estrogen, your estrogen isn't there. So you might have lower energy, but also progesterone isn't around anymore. Progesterone can make you feel very lethargic, sluggish, give you all those PMS symptoms. So without that, you might feel a little bit more energized or lifted. So it's so dependent on you. Flow, like how much blood and how you feel from day to day, will depend on you as a person. So your period is different to your friends, to your colleagues, to anyone else. And it can also vary from cycle to cycle. So your day 2, 1 cycle is generally going to feel the same each time, but it can be different. But in general, this phase is you feel a bit disconnected from the world, a bit inward focused, a little bit like sensitive, totally normal, totally okay. Your body is flushing out and cleansing and starting a new chapter, basically. So the focus and the feel and the vibe of this phase is to just take the focus inside, hibernate, like get comfy, get cozy. The main thing in this phase is just to be intuitive. So listen to what you need. If you need to sleep, sleep. If you need to eat, eat. If you don't want to go to the gym, don't go to the gym. If you want to walk and move and whatever, do it. We're going to get into like the best things to eat, how to move, how to work soon. Other things you might be feeling are, because to help with the flow and the release of the uterine lining with the blood, there's certain hormones that go to the pelvic region to loosen everything and to help everything relax. That might mean also that your bowels and that area is a little bit looser too. So essentially that might be a little bit looser. Everything down there is a little bit more sensitive, so sex might feel great. On that note, this time of the month, if you're not grossed out by blood and everything everywhere, if you think about it, there's no egg out there for any sperm or anything to fertilize. So you cannot get pregnant. And you also might be feeling, as mentioned before, like a little bit cooler. Energy is totally dependent, mood is totally dependent. We're going to get into nutrition too, about how to keep your mood more consistent through nutrition. But because you've got basically baseline, you're basically a man now with no like strongly inflicting female hormones. So this phase is probably the most neutral, but then also out of it that you're gonna feel. So don't worry if you are feeling woozy or dizzy, or it's called a period high, and like it genuinely feels like you are like kind of high. So anyway, how to eat for your menstrual cycle. As you might have guessed, predominant nutrient that you need here is going to be iron. You are losing blood, and iron is going to help the rebuilding of the red blood cells. Vitamin C aids the absorption of iron. Not so much needed for immunity side because the other hormones aren't in the way, but always good for immunity, and it's a water-soluble vitamin. So if you have too much of it, you will pee it out, so don't worry about having too much, although it might loosen your bowels a bit more, so don't have too much vitamin C, but you need vitamin C to absorb the iron, so bear that in mind. Omegas help with cramps, headaches, any symptoms that you might have, and also omegas and fats, healthy fats, are the building blocks of hormones. And as you know, hormones are baseline, they're going to start building up. Magnesium is also really going to help any cramps whilst everything is going on down there, and it will also help your sleep if you're struggling to like get into a deep sleep or even get to sleep because of cramps and because of other things. Look up, because it's individual as well, which type of magnesium. There's lots of different types. I take a complex, so a mixture of them. But yeah, look up which magnesium and how much to take. Another really important one in this phase is antioxidants for hormone clearing. Your hormones are at their lowest, but you want to flush out as much of the excess hormones as possible. So your antioxidants for detoxing and to help the liver basically flush everything out. B vitamins 6 and 12 especially for energy. And then really important to stay hydrated. Electrolytes, so making your own electrolyte solution with salts and sugars, or coconut water is great. Electrolyte drinks are great. Just general, just water. Teas are really great in this phase to keep the body and the womb and everything warm, whilst all these internal processes, you want to keep everything warm. So teas, soups, juices, basically everything hydrating that's going to replace, because you're losing, essentially it's a liquid that you're losing. You're losing a lot of salts with that blood. So keep the salts, so the electrolyte balance is all balanced basically. Types of foods, as I kind of touched on there, warm. You really want to just keep everything warm. Anything cold is going to be really harsh on the body, and when you're feeling a bit sensitive already feeling a little bit chilly, comforting, nourishing, thick, dark, rich. I mean, all of these are pointing to chocolate, right? But stews, like beef stews, stewy soups, all of those kind of things. Chili con carne, bolognese, those kind of thick, slow-cooked, really nourishing foods. Lentil stews if you're veggie. Macronutrients. You don't want to overdo the calories in this phase. You need your baseline, basically. Don't undereat, because you really need to fuel the energy-intensive process that is happening behind the scenes right now. You might not feel it, but your body is doing a lot. It's also rebuilding blood and rebuilding the wall, the womb. You don't need to go too crazy on any particular macro. If you're exercising, definitely eat enough carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are going to give you energy to exercise. And protein, if you do choose to do weights or any strength training, then definitely up the protein. Protein is super important, that you're meeting baseline protein at least in this phase, especially like iron-rich ones, because they're going to help you rebuild blood, and just generally really important to keep the protein up in this phase. Really important to get fiber. Fiber is going to help you get rid of any excess hormones, like I spoke about earlier. Antioxidants, helping you to flush excess hormones out. Getting excess estrogen out of the body now when it's at baseline, so that there's no lingering, so that when it starts to up, it's all new, is actually going to help in the luteal phase. If you are prone to swollen boobs and general stiffness and kind of that PMS-y, icky feeling, get your fiber, get rid of excess estrogen in this phase. It's interesting because it's going to help you later. The general aim in this phase with food is to replace the lost nutrients and minerals. So trace elements, trace minerals. Great things for this are seaweeds. They're very densely nutrient rich and mineral dense. Miso paste and tamari and liquid aminos. Marmite is great, yeast extract. It's a little bit salty, but it has a lot of vitamins and minerals in there too. Broths and think pho, think noodle soup. Other aims is obviously to fuel the shedding and the detox that's happening right now. So as I mentioned before, make sure that you're hitting enough calories and enough food in this phase. You really don't want to be skimping and getting crampy and moody and stuff. This phase is about nourishing and setting foundations for the rest of your cycle. So if you can nourish and create strong foundations right now, nutritionally and by resting enough and by just being generally intuitive, you're setting yourself up really well for the rest of your cycle. And the last kind of aim in this phase is to reduce any GI stress that you have if you've got gastrointestinal discomfort. One key tip I'm going to give you is to eat your food in the correct order. So starting with your veggies, then fats and proteins, then carbohydrates and starches and sugars. That's also going to help with your blood sugar. So if you go straight for the carbs first, your blood sugar is going to spike. If you line your stomach with the fiber first, it has kind of a mesh that it has to get through to get into the bloodstream, so it's a slower release into your blood. It's going to keep your mood stable too, and it will also help with gas and just any kind of digestive discomfort if you eat your foods in the correct order. So that is a top tip. Key foods you want to get in this phase, just think everything in this phase, just think dark. So dark leafy greens, dark meats, dark beans. So if you're eating lentils or beans, like just the dark ones. Yeah, generally just dark. It's also, this phase is also known as winter of the 4 phases. So it's hibernation and it's blood, dark, antioxidants usually come from the darker colors of the polyphenols. Anyways, next, how to move in this phase. This phase is totally dependent on you. There's myths, but in general, I'm telling you from the research and everything that I've done, listen to yourself. If you don't feel like going to the gym and working out and you're on your period, don't do it. If you really feel like going for a walk or some slow yoga or some movement, that's actually incredibly beneficial to get everything moving. Think about it. If you've got menstrual cramps and everything down there feels gross, I know the last thing you want to do is probably not get out of bed, but getting movement in is actually really beneficial and great in this phase. Bear in mind that your hormones are low, so you don't have estrogen, the natural anabolic, natural energizing hormone is not around. So your energy is either going to come from your motivation, the food that you eat, or your general like willpower, but really just be intuitive, listen to your body. If you want to move. If not, don't push it. If you overexert yourself in this phase, you might set yourself back for the next phase. The next phase, you're gonna know when you have the energy to go out and do stuff. Once your period starts to ease off and you come out of this phase, your energy goes like this. Your follicular and your ovulatory phase, you are so full of energy. If you can just sit with just relaxing, just settling into, just enjoy it. Fucking start a new Netflix series or read a book or enjoy going for a slow walk or doing a yoga flow. Just really enjoy the slowness of this phase, and you will feel when you want to go outside and socialize and get back in the gym and stuff. I'm not saying don't gym, I'm not saying don't socialize and don't do stuff. I'm saying just ease off. And when you really feel like doing it again, you're gonna know. Because the natural increases, that's what this is all about. I'm giving you the scientific information so that you know, so that you don't feel guilty for not doing something, or you don't feel frustrated, that you don't feel like going to the gym or socializing or whatever. So if you rest up now, you can maximize your everything, your productivity, your energy in the next phase, your potential to build muscle and hit PBs and, you know, have the best follicular and ovulatory phase when that comes around. So it's up to you if you want to still keep going, but just basically do it. And it's fine. If you get to the gym and you're 10 minutes into your workout and you feel like shit, like I'm low, I've got no energy, I don't feel like doing this anymore, stop. Like, it's fine. Literally, that's much better than pushing through and then feeling just so like lethargic and drained later. And then, because that takes energy to then get yourself back up to like the normal thing, bearing in mind you're also losing blood and you're also going through a lot of other things. Lastly, how to optimize your productivity in this phase. We still all go to work. We are part of the men's 9 to 5, some of us, most of us, that have to do things every day. We have different things that are best to do in these 4 chapters of the menstrual cycle. So if you can, this is all if you can, but just having the awareness of it is what's really going to help you optimize your productivity. In this phase, like we said before, your focus is kind of drawn in, you're inward, you're very intuitive, you're focused. This phase is therefore a really great time to focus on vision boards and planning and basically thinking about things. Don't necessarily do too much in this phase. It's about conceptualizing. Think about it as the first like few pages of a chapter of a book, or it's the beginning of something. You don't jump straight in. You want to just look at it first, know what you're going for. You're building foundations, strategizing, setting the stage, reset the goalposts, just evaluate what you were doing. Think about this in your context of what you're working on. But now's a really great time to come back to the drawing board and the vision and basically look at how you're doing things and how you could improve things or how to do things better, which then in the next phase you're actually going to go out and go do. So this is planning, this is strategizing, evaluating, create reports, improve internal systems and processes. All of this is also on the website, by the way. Yeah, it's a good time to basically create directional, improved future strategies, which in the next phase, when you have all the energy and you're out there and you're going, is when you're actually going to action it and execute. Beware of not listening to your needs. Don't push yourself too hard. A really good one is to just set aside 1 to 3 really important tasks and do those 1 to 3 tasks. Get those done, feel productive, have little mini breaks. Check in with yourself how you're feeling. Do you need a snack? Do you need to lay down? Do you need to just go to the toilet, close your eyes for a bit? But like if you're at work, I don't know, whatever you need to do, just make sure that you are still being intuitive whilst you need to do the things that you need to do, I guess. Avoid tight deadlines or anything that's super pressurizing or anything right now, because your body's under stress. So if you can push back to next week or delegate or just take any kind of stress and pressures off you so that you can take this time to refill your cup nutritionally, mentally, everything. But in general, if you can, to optimize this phase, the type of work to do is vision boarding essentially. That's the kind of theme, is to think about things that you're gonna do, have it all strategized, you can see it, you know exactly what you need to do, and in the next phase is when you're going to execute all of that. And that is it for the menstrual phase. If you followed along, thank you very much for finishing this episode with me. Now you know pretty much everything that you need to know about the menstrual phase. All the information is on the website, which is in the description below. And make sure you watch the next video of the follicular phase. I would really recommend watching these whilst you're in the phase itself. And yeah, see you in the next phase. Like, subscribe, comment, and make sure you check out the website and the Instagram full of recipes that are going to help you support each phase. See you next time.